I would hesitate against having a huge backlog of items. They start to delete them. So be very careful. Instead, I would probably schedule those listings out. Hello and welcome back to my weekly show where I talk about the ups and downs and in-betweens of selling on eBay. Working on another video coming out in the near future about mindset. I feel like there's a lot of videos out there about eBay strategy, how to list, how to ship, things like that. I've made a lot of those types of videos myself, but there's not a lot of videos about mindset. And I think that's a critical part of finding success in this business and any business is your mindset, your attitude. And so working on a video specifically about that. If you have any ideas or questions or comments about mindset, leave them down below and I will consider that as I make that video. It should come out in a week or two maybe. Let's jump into some viewer questions.
Hey Justin, First, thanks for Flipwise. It's incredible. I work in tech and I'm a data nerd boy and I love numbers and I love information and this has made it a lot easier for me. I've received my first negative review. Okay. I've had nothing but 100% across the board, which I worked really hard to achieve. And this customer purchased an item. It was a teddy bear. And I several times listed in the description and the title itself, the dimensions and size of said teddy bear. He received it and immediately requested a refund and sent the item back, stating that, quote, the item was too small for him, which I totally understand, but in no way is that grounds for complaint, seeing as how I was nothing but transparent about its size and dimension. Needless to say, he wrote a negative review saying the same thing. The item is too small for me. I requested that he revise the review twice, and both times he said he would. And both times he didn't, and it's been about a month now. I submitted an official request to eBay to have it revised, and they denied my request, stating that the client found something, or the customer found something wrong with the item that wasn't listed in the item description. That is resoundingly false, and so I find myself in a place where I don't really know what recourse I have. Should I just take this line down and eat it, or what would you do?
Yeah, Jeffrey, that's an interesting situation. By the way, if you want to send in a video question like that, you can find a link in the description below. You can send me a video question or an audio question, and I'll put you on the channel. But Jeffrey, to answer your question specifically, it sounds like you got a negative feedback. Some buyers are just weird, honestly, and most buyers don't actually read, the description or sometimes not even the title, or they don't look at all the pictures, and so it's really unavoidable. If you sell enough stuff on eBay, you're going to get buyers like this who just are jerks or don't understand the impact that leaving a negative review can possibly have, and just they don't care about revising it. They have their own lives going on, and they're not going to jump back and jump through any hoops, to appease you as the seller. And so it's just a reality of doing business. If you think about that, every business has its downsides. Every business has its risks. If you're running a brick and mortar store, somewhere in your town, you're going to have shoplifters coming in there doing stuff. You're going to have bad customers, all sorts of stuff that come with running a business like that. Same thing with e-commerce. You don't have shoplifters necessarily, but you do get people who try to scam you, and you get people who don't read and order something and then try to return it and leave a bad review, all sorts of stuff. And so I really would not get too worked up about this. You kind of have tried to get it removed. eBay recently has released a new list of reasons why they will remove negative feedback. You should review that list and see whether or not your situation in particular means it's ground for removal for that negative feedback. I don't think that this situation would be one that eBay is going to remove it, unfortunately. Double check that list. I'll link it down below. Look at that list. It's very exhaustive of the types of reasons and scenarios where they will remove negative feedback. It just doesn't feel like this situation that you're in would be grounds for removal there, so that's probably why they're denying it. You can try again. You can see if a different eBay rep will be willing to do it. You can try as many times as you want. Maybe you'll eventually get somebody who will remove it, but consider how much your time is worth. That's going to take a lot of time to do that, and a negative feedback, one negative feedback here and there is just not going to make an impact on your business. And think of it this way. If a buyer is interested in buying from you and they do check your feedback and they do see a negative and they read that, they're going to read that and not necessarily be scared to buy from you. They would probably be able to see that this buyer is being unreasonable, or it's just a weird feedback to get. And so if the feedback was this person, this seller is scamming me or something, making these wild claims that if other buyers saw it, they would get nervous, but that's not the case here. So honestly, I just really wouldn't worry about it. But again, consider how much your time is worth. How much time do you want to spend fighting this? Personally, I don't do that. I get probably 2 to 3 negative feedbacks per year on average. Knock on wood, it's been a while. I'm actually sitting at 100% because my older negative feedbacks have rolled off of the sort of rolling year. But I have no doubt that I will get a negative feedback at some point soon and I will drop below 100%, and it just doesn't matter. So I wouldn't worry about it.
Hey, Justin, Greg here. I'm just curious, what's your preferred ratio of listed items versus what you have in your draft section? Prior to us building our eBay store, we built up quite the backlog, which is our draft column. And now our listing and our drafts are about equal. Like we have 400 listed and about 400 waiting in the backlog, which is the draft column in my mind. Curious your advice on that. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, Greg, thanks. My preferred ratio is to have nothing in drafts because you can't sell anything if it's sitting in a draft. And so I would hesitate against having a huge backlog of items in your draft. Also, keep in mind that eBay deletes drafts after, 70 days, 90 days. I can't remember exactly how long, but if a draft has been sitting in your drafts queue for over that amount, they start to delete them. So be very careful. Don't keep them in your draft folder. Instead, I would probably schedule those listings out. A lot of reasons why people keep stuff in their drafts is because they want to spread their listings out, the publishing of their listings out over time instead of dumping them all at once, which is fine. I do think that that's probably a good idea. I would keep in mind though, again, these things can't sell if they're not listed, and sitting in drafts, they're obviously not going to be able to sell. But if you don't want to dump all those 400 listings onto eBay right away, I would instead schedule them for publishing, get them into the scheduled queue at a pace that you want out there. And my goal is to have everything listed, and the only reason I don't have everything listed is because I don't have enough time to list everything that I have. And so my goal is to have basically nothing in my drafts, nothing in my death pile, and everything on eBay listed. If I have an influx of listings that I don't want to push live right away, then I schedule them out, and so that they will go out live automatically on their own. So that's what I would recommend. All right, let's jump into my sales for the week. If you have any questions for me, you can leave them in the comment section below or click the link in the description to leave a video or audio question, and I will answer it in a future video. Also, I'll leave time codes in the description so you can jump around to the different questions in today's video. All right, looking at my sales for the week, looks like I sold $1,560 in gross sales and $903 in net sales for the last 7 days. So that's pretty good. Definitely looking like Q4 numbers, definitely increasing. And it's also because of the inventory I have. I just have better inventory right now than I've had in the last few months. And so it's a combination of both Q4, where sales are generally higher. My sales are generally 20 to 25% higher during Q4 than any other time of the year. And just me having some pretty decent inventory, which we're going to talk about here in a second. My average gross per sale was $36.27, and the average net was $21 even for stuff sold over the last 7 days. And my net profit margin for the last 7 days was 58%. Looks like I spent $113 over the past week on some new inventory, and my cost of goods sold, so that's everything that sold over the last 7 days, had a cost of goods of $179 in total. I spent $213 in marketplace fees and about $265 in shipping label fees. At 31 new listings going out, 35 is my goal, so I was just below my goal for the week, but 43 sales, that's pretty good. My average time to list is 3 days. That means that's on average how long stuff sat in my death pile before I got it listed, and my average time to sell is 4 months. So that means after being listed, of what sold this week, the average age of that listing was 4 months. And my return on investment was 355% over the last 7 days. Coming in at number 10, pair of shoes, Saucony Eclipse. These are big, size 14 wide. I got these at a garage sale back in September, 23 days. So just over 3 weeks it took to sell for the 10th best flip of the week. $49.99 they went out the door. My net return for that 10th best flip was $23.31. These things were brand new, kind of a no-brainer. What did I pay for them? I kind of paid up, I think, didn't I? Yeah, $10. So they were on the expensive side, but brand new shoes at a good brand like that, eventually they will sell. And, actually they sold a little bit quicker than I was thinking because these are not super desirable shoes. Yeah, $23.31. Coming in at number 9 is this vintage camera. This is a Bedford Flex. I got it at a garage sale for just 25 cents, and I'll tell you why. It was kind of a weird story, but it sold for $36.98. That's $29.99 plus $6.99 in shipping. shipping. The net return for the ninth best flip of the week was $27.11. This was at a garage sale. This woman was selling a box with about 7 old cameras in it, and the box said $1 on it. And I was like, really? You're going to sell the whole box of cameras from your childhood for $1? She's like, yeah, just $1. I was like, okay, so 7 cameras for $1. Turns out they weren't all sellable, but this one definitely was, and it sold for, $36.98 for the ninth best flip of the week. So it's just really weird to get that many cameras for such a small amount of money.
Hey, Justin, this is Will from
Hi.
Albany, New York. Just a quick question for you.
Okay.
I've been looking at a few of my orders over the last week, and it's mostly Media Mail and Ground Advantage. And it seems like, it might be just my imagination, but it seems like they've been taking a little longer to make it through the system. I was wondering if you think the early voting might be having any effect on the shipping times that are going on right now for eBay orders. Love your show, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Appreciate that. I don't know if early voting would be impacting shipping all that much, but I do know that Q4 generally, like as we lead and get closer up to Christmas, like the volume of shipments at the post office, at the USPS is processing at any given time is greater than any other time of the year. So I would expect slower delivery times around this time of year. We're still early in Q4, but just keep in mind as we get closer to Christmas, it's gonna go slower and slower. And so keep that in mind as you're making your shipments. And that's likely. I think that's likely what it is Q4 and less election related. Coming in at number 8 is this Pampered Chef Ridged Baker stoneware. I like buying these Pampered Chef stoneware pieces. I talk about them on here quite a bit. This one went for $44.98. Where did I get it? I got it at a garage sale for $5. It sold for $44.98, and the cost to ship was $8. Net return in total for the 7th best flip of the week was $24.75. That's a almost 500% ROI. These Pampered Chef stoneware pieces do really well. This one was brand new, so I knew it was going to do really well, but even used, they do well too. Even if they're not in perfect condition, some of that seasoning is on them and they still sell really well. So I always pick these things up. They usually sell pretty quick. This one took 4 months, so it took a little while, but still not bad for the 7th best flip of the week. That was the 8th best flip of the week. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. The actual 7th best flip of the week is these Oak Hill pants. Check these out. 66 by 30. These are giant. Very giant pants. I got these at a thrift store. Where did I get them? Savers for only $5. They sold for $46.98 for the 7th best flip of the week. That's $29.71 net return on these giant Oak Hill pants. Just huge pants.
Hey, Justin. Love the content. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I have a question regarding eBay stores. And I follow another YouTuber who talks about eBay a lot, and he has a massive inventory. But what he's done is he's made multiple stores. And first of all, I didn't know really that was a thing that you could do. And I think the idea behind it is that he has all his clothing in one store, all his DVDs and CDs, so on, in another store. And it sounds like he has possibly 4 or 5 stores in total. And so I wonder what your thoughts were on that. Basically, it comes down to one giant store with a massive inventory or splitting the inventory up into multiple stores. Love your thoughts. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Sean, it's a good question. Whether to have one single store with lots of mixed variety of inventory, or to set up separate stores for each particular category that you sell in. eBay does allow you to have multiple stores, multiple accounts like that. So it's really up to you and how you want to handle it. I keep one store and one store only, even though I sell across a bunch of different categories, and mostly just because it's easier to run things from one store. The complexity increases a little bit with each store that you add, and there's just like there's some time costs to having to switch, log out of eBay and back into eBay and remember, is this which store is related to my clothes? It's not a terrible amount of extra time and complexity, but it is a little bit of extra time and complexity and something to consider. The reason why you might want to do it is if you sell in a category where you're trying to gain a following on eBay of buyers who are interested in what you're selling. Personally, I think that's only going to be important if you're selling in certain categories. If I was selling in a category like vinyl records, like maybe jazz vinyl records, for example, there's going to be buyers out there who care about jazz vinyl records, and they may be following your store and been paying attention when you list new things. And if you're listing, pairs of jeans mixed in between, jazz vinyl records, you may turn those potential buyers off and they may not follow your store as closely. But if you're selling generic things, even generic things in particular categories, I don't know. I just don't think it's necessarily worth the added time cost of managing multiple stores. But a lot of people do do it. It's really up to you.
Hey, Justin, this is Mike.
Mike.
Really appreciate all your content. Love everything you do. I was just wondering if you had any opinions on ending and relisting in terms of listing goals. I have 5 a day and I can't quite always get to it with my day job and everything like that. And it seems like whenever I end a listing and relist it, that it counts towards a daily listing goal. In your opinion, do you think the algorithm sees it that way? I know it's just your opinion, but I was just curious. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you sending that along. So your question is whether like ending and relisting counts towards a new listing goal. And I guess I would just ask a follow-up, like, what do you define a new listing goal? Is that just like your personal goal setting? And whether that, counts towards your personal goal setting of doing 5 a day is really up to you, since you're the one setting that goal. But eBay, when you end and relist, eBay does treat those listings as new. They charge you for them. It comes out of your allotment of, quote, free listings of whatever, if you subscribe to an eBay store, or if you don't subscribe to an eBay store and you don't have an allotment of free listings left, you will be charged an insertion fee when you end and relist. All said and done, it is a new listing. It's considered a new listing. It has a new listing ID, but does the algorithm see that as new? And that's really something only eBay can answer. We don't have access to that type of information, how it uses that information. I can tell you that eBay does know that it is a relisting of an existing listing. So it knows that it's not a brand new listing built from scratch. It knows that you're ending an existing listing and relisting it. That's because when you do that, eBay creates a parent-child relationship between the listings. So there's the old listing will have a parent ID, and the new listing will have a child ID that's connected to that parent ID. So it knows that it's different. Now, whether it treats that differently or not, tough to say. Personally, I try to do 5 listings a day as well. If I can't get to it, then I will just sort of fill in with some end and relists. And I just like to have daily activity on my store as much as I possibly can. So I do think it's a good practice. Whether it makes a difference, I can't really say for sure. I have a big video on the eBay algorithm specifically. I'll link it up top and down below. You may want to watch that. I go into a little bit more detail about all that, but I think your practice is good here. I think you want to get as many new listings live as you possibly can. If you run into days where you can't get new listings live, end and relist some older listings as long as you have, an allotment of free listings. It may not be worth it if you're paying 35 cents per listing to do it. So I would give that a shot. And the dogs are barking. Coming in at number 6 is this Panasonic Blue Line VCR. This thing sold very fast, 12 hours. I got it at a garage sale along with another one. I got 2 of them at a garage sale for $5 a piece, but this is the only one that sold so far for the 6th best flip of the week, $54.98. The net return was $29.73. The cost to ship there is only $14.90, so not too bad. That's the 6th best flip of the week. And these Blue Line VCRs can do really, really well. It's just known, you can see they're called Blue Line just because of that blue line that goes across the middle there. And these Panasonic, the Blue Lines are just known for being sort of well-crafted VCRs that last a long time. And since they're not manufacturing new VCRs, anyone really, people have to buy on the secondary market like this. So if you find VCRs that are brand new or in very good condition, they can often command a good deal of money because people just can't buy them anywhere else. So check them out. VCRs are a great thing to buy and resell. Coming in at number 5 is this Apple HomePod Mini. I got this at a Salvation Army for only $8, if you can believe that. It only took 24 hours to sell for $66.98 in total for the 5th best flip of the week. The net return was $43.40. Really surprised to see this at a Salvation Army, and doubly surprised that they were selling it only for $8. So anything Apple that's in the packaging like this, it's relatively new for only $8. I didn't even look it up. I knew it was going to be worth it, and it sold very, very fast, had an incredible sell-through rate. 5th best flip of the week, $43.40 for this Apple HomePod Mini. I think it's just like an Alexa type deal, but with Siri on it, and you can listen to your Apple Music and stuff. So,
hey, Justin.
Hi.
My name is Wendy, and Wendy. I want to thank you for the information that you share. It is so helpful.
Great.
Now, here's my question.
Okay.
We picked up a framed sketch of a comic book character that might have been created by a fan. It was signed, but I'm not sure by whom. So when we tried to list it on eBay, we saw that one of the fields in the item specific section asks if it's an original or a licensed reproduction. And I think in this case, this item is neither, but neither was not an option. So does that mean that eBay doesn't want this kind of thing sold on their platform? Any kind of information or advice you can give in this area would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Wendy. Thanks for sending that question along. So you're asking, you got some artwork that's done by somebody, you're not really sure who, it's signed, and you're wondering whether that's okay to sell it on eBay. Some of the item descriptions options doesn't give you the option that may fit exactly what you're trying to sell. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Just because the item description doesn't have the option for what you need does not mean that it's not something you can sell on eBay. Now, I'm not saying you definitely can sell this on eBay. I'm just saying that what's in the item description, the options that it gives you, is not necessarily an indicator of whether something can be sold on eBay or not. So you'll want to check whether what you're selling is okay, separate from what is said in the item description. It sounds like this would be totally fine to sell on eBay. And so it sounds like it's an original piece. It's not original to maybe the original comic book creator, but it is original piece to the artist, whoever that person is. So I would probably select that option, or I would just not select anything in the item description there, and you should be good to go. But double check that what you're selling is not like copyrighted or trademarked or something like that, and make sure that it is kosher to sell. If you check the eBay documentation for that type of thing, or reach out to eBay directly just to make sure. But my guess is this is a totally fine thing to sell. So, but yeah, thanks for sending that question along.
Hi, Justin.
Hello.
I have a question concerning mixed lots and
Okay.
junk drawers,
Okay.
which I do a lot of because I have a lot of different types of stuff that I sell. When you're lotting something like that together and you're listing it, let's say that you have a mixed lot of 5 different comic books. Well, by the time that you have mixed lot of 5 comic books, you've used up half your title, and there's not really any keywords in there specific to which comic books. However,
Okay.
if you just put publisher like DC or Marvel, and then you have Spider-Man number 4, Superman number 3, so on, so forth. There's not enough room for you to describe the fact that it's a mixed lot of so many. My question is, when the first 5 words are the most important words, do you need to prioritize describing to people that it's a mixed lot of comic books, or do you need to describe for the algorithm that it is this particular franchise, this particular publisher and brand for searchability? If one of those has to be sacrificed, which one should it be? Thanks a lot.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for sending that question along. It's a good one. Sort of how do you, especially when you're dealing with mixed lots, like you're trying to sell something that has multiple items in it that you may not be able to accurately describe all of the items in the title. What's the best way to handle that? What does the algorithm care about? I do have a separate video entirely on the eBay algorithm where I talk about this type of thing in particular and at length. And so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail here. I'm going to direct you to that video. I'll leave it in the description below. But you're thinking about this in the right way, I think. And, when you're creating your title, you want to think about what is the most important information to convey both to the user or to the buyer. And also to the algorithm. And I would really treat those as the same thing, basically. Like you want to think about what is someone who's interested in buying what you're selling going to be searching for? And that's how I would go about crafting the title in this situation. So do you think some buyers are going to be going to eBay and searching for mixed lot of 5 DC comic books? I actually don't know. But that's how I would think about it. Or are they going to go to eBay and then search for a very specific comic book, and think about the buyers that this is going to attract. Like my guess is that someone who's going to buy a random mixed lot of comic books is probably going to notice that there's 1 or 2 comic books in this lot that they want in particular. And therefore they're buying that and they can get it at a cost, and maybe they can sell the other ones, or maybe, I don't know. So it is important that in the listing, you do have the issues of each of these comic books somewhere, all of them. And probably the best place to put that is the description, because the eBay search algorithm is going to consider more than just the title when producing results for potential buyers who are searching. And so if someone's searching for a very specific comic book issue, that this would come up. Now, it might not be as prominently placed in search as a listing with that exact issue in the eBay listing title. May rank lower because of that, because I do think that the eBay algorithm is weighting the different data points in a listing. So if you think people are searching for 5, literally typing in the search box, mixed lot of 5 comic books, then I would prioritize that in your title. But if you don't, if you think they might be searching for something else, like, and it's hard to say, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what these comic books are exactly. Like, are they all Superman? Are they all DC comic books? I don't know. Like, but you want to think about what search terms a potential buyer would likely use in search to find an item like yours, and then prioritize that in the title itself. Coming in at number 4 is this Jim Shore Disney Halloween pumpkin thingy. I had it for a while, September 2023, so over a year at a garage sale for $10. I tried to sell it for a decent amount of money last year, but Halloween came and went before this thing sold. So I dropped the price a little bit, $79.99. It went out the door this year finally. The net return for the 4th best flip was $45.40. So Jim Shore is a great brand to look for. Usually these crossovers with Disney are going to be really good. This thing was new in the packaging. It was a really cool piece. Considered keeping it for our house here, but didn't. Got it out the door instead for the 5th best flip of the week. 4th best flip of the week? Yeah, that was the 4th best flip of the week. That brings us to number 3, this Patagonia puffer jacket. This is an XL, so I've got about $6 in it. It sold for $76.98 for the 3rd best flip of the week. That's a net return of $54.62. I got this from a bulk buy that has a bunch of different jackets in it and a bunch of sunglasses, so you'll probably be seeing jackets like this and sunglasses in my top sellers here because it's that time of year, at least for jackets anyway. But yeah, $54.62 for the 3rd best flip of the week on this Patagonia puffer jacket.
Hey, thanks for all the cool stuff that you do. I've been watching all of your videos. Sure. I'm transitioning from a long career into doing this as a second career, full-time reselling on eBay. Anyway, an early sale to a gentleman who the post office attempted delivery, but they made a note that the mailbox was too full. So they took it back to the post office, leaving a note it could be picked up there. I've sent the gentleman a couple of messages. I've checked Street View, looked at his address. It is an apartment complex. I've done more research on the gentleman, could not find out anything really about him, but he's not replied to any of my messages, and the post office is still hanging on to it. And this is going on a month now. How long are they going to hang on to this? I've not opened up anything with eBay. Should I wait and see what the post office does if I get the package back? Really, I'm not sure what steps I should be taking next. Appreciate all your help. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, Tab. Thanks for sending that along. It is kind of a weird situation. You send something out, it gets delivered, or maybe, they try to deliver it and it goes back to the post office and the buyer's not responding. Like, hey, do you want the thing that you bought? But your job here is basically done. You fulfilled the sale, you sent it off, it's been delivered, or at least attempted to be delivered. There's nothing you as an individual, probably several states away, can do to try to rectify this situation beyond what you've already done. I think you've gone above and beyond what you need to be doing in this situation. You've reached out, you've tried to figure this out, and I would just let it go. You're done with this one. If the buyer eventually gets it, great. If they don't, maybe it'll get sent back to you. If it does get sent back to you, you have the item back in your hands, then just go ahead and proactively give a refund back to the buyer because you have the item back, and you can resell it, and you might be out a little bit of money doing that, but that's just the right thing to do if you have the item back and the buyer didn't actually get their item, regardless of whether they ask for that refund. Just go ahead and give it to them. If the buyer reaches out to you and is like, hey, where's my item? Then you can say, like, you need to talk to the post office. I'm just an individual. I have no idea. eBay will side with you just because it shows as delivered or attempted to be delivered. So your job is done here. You're good to go.
Hey, Justin, gotta make this short and sweet. I got 2 boys sleeping in the other room.
Okay.
Appreciate all you've done for me and my eBay business.
Yeah.
When delisting and relisting an item, I usually run promotions based on the amount of days that it's been on my store. Is that able to still do that while delisting and relisting? Because I feel like I'm getting different days on site for my filtering options. So any help to be able to still list old items on sale, even though they are newly relisted. Thanks.
Yeah, Nicholas, that is a problem when you do end and relist. eBay is treating it as a new listing and it has a new published date. And so if you listed something on September 1st and then ended and relisted it on October 1st, its published date is October 1st. And it knows that it's connected to that original September 1st listing, but it's not showing you that information. And so if you're only running promotions on listings that are of a certain age, you sort of have to manage that on your own. That's where other tools can be handy if they help retain that information for you. So for example, on Flipwise, when you look at an item in your inventory, you can see the entire history of that inventory. So you see the original list date and you see like when it was ended, when it was relisted, and you can sort of see its history there. It's difficult to see that information on eBay. They just don't provide it for you in that way. So it can be hard to see it there. So you'll probably have to use a different tool. There's probably other tools out there that do the same thing, but that's what I would recommend. If you only want to run promotions on items of a certain age, you're going to have to get at that data that shows you that original published time in a different way. So hopefully that helps. Second best flip of the week here is this Nintendo GameCube. Video game stuff just does so well. That's another reason why my numbers are higher this week, is because I've been selling a lot of video game stuff. I'm doing some video game stuff on consignment for a friend. So this sold for $69.98. Took 5 hours to sell. $57.11 was the net return. In reality, I'll give back $25 of that to my friend. I'm splitting the net return on this consignment deal 50-50. Video game stuff just sells so fast. I normally don't do consignments. They can be kind of a pain to manage. But this is for a good friend and it's for video games. And so I knew this stuff would just sell very quickly. If it was like almost any other category, I probably wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have offered to do the consignment just because who knows when this stuff's going to sell. It could take years, but this video game stuff is going to go out the door so quickly, just like this one did in 5 hours. That leaves us with number one, yet another jacket. This is a Patagonia blue puffer jacket. This thing was brand new in the tags. This is the last one that I bought. This was from this Dick's outlet. So Dick's is a sporting goods store. They have an outlet near my house that was going out of business last year, and I bought a ton of stuff, including 7 of these XXL puffer jackets. You can see here I spent about $350 in total on these 7, so about $50 each. The net return on this order is the last one that I got was $63.82 for the best flip of the week. But you can see here my net return on all 7 ended up being $401.55. That's 115% ROI. So I think a couple of these I'd sold on Facebook, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, so I sold 3 of them for $100 each on Facebook. The rest went out on eBay here, as you can see. And this Dick's lot, let's see how that bulk buy is performing here. I spent a total of $762 on stuff at that Dick's outlet. Looks like the gross income from it was just shy of $2,000. The net income was $843. I still have 2 things to sell. But yeah, total payout on that is $1,600. So really good pickup at Dick's Sporting Goods there. So one of the most crucial things you can do for your reselling business is keep accurate records. With the IRS expected to lower the income threshold for eBay reporting from $20,000 to $5,000 next year, this becomes even more important. So that means if you exceed $5,000 in gross sales this year, eBay will report that as income to the IRS for you. This means you need to be tracking your reselling expenses closely to reduce your taxable income effectively. If you enjoyed these videos and want to support the channel, Flipwise is a tool I built specifically to help resellers like me and you track those expenses automatically. By using Flipwise, not only are you getting a powerful tool to automate your eBay reselling business and simplify tax time, but you're also helping to support the channel and ensure that I can keep making videos like this one. Flipwise automates your record keeping by importing all of your active listings and sold items going back 2 years. If you're behind on record keeping, Flipwise makes it easy to catch up in no time. And while it's focused on eBay, Flipwise also lets you manually record sales from other marketplaces like Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, and even local sales. It also provides unique insights into your reselling business, such as which sourcing locations are performing best, your best and worst sales, and metrics like ROI and net profit margin. You can also track business expenses like shipping supplies, subscription fees, and other tax-deductible expenses. Flipwise is free to use for new sellers with small stores and for everyone else. Check the description below for a promo code to get 20% off your first month. As always, thank you so much for your support.